All right, let's see if we are up and running, and then we are going to get started again this morning, folks. So, checking in to see if my signal is live, and the answer is a yes. Live, and volume sounds good. I'm gonna drop that down. I'm gonna kick the social medias here real quick, and I will amuse you with my stunning intro statements. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online, and I've been focusing attention on creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition since 2017. I've been running games in the Eberron campaign setting since 2006. It was last month was Eberron's 20th anniversary, which was released in 2004. Congratulations, and thanks for creating such a wonderful world, Keith Baker. And I've been DMing in Dungeons & Dragons since 1986. So this is the first actual published adventure that I have produced. I'm proud to have it in the Eberron setting and placing it on the DMsGuild. It's for 4 to 5 characters of level 7 to 8. Hold on. There it is. It's the book cover. Crystals on a bar. You're fighting undead and necromancers in the Carnwood Forest in the northeastern end of Karnath in the continent of Corvair. There you go. So it's got a ton of content. There's like 5 significant, like 50-inch maps that the team can explore over the course of the adventure. Here is my Twitter page. If you're on the bird, you can follow me at Phil Kearney. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications of when I am live in the future. And thank you so much for everyone that's been discovering the channel as a result of Kraken Week or my Reddit posts or Discord. I really appreciate you. So, yeah, I've got sufficient light. Looks like I've got my coffee. So let's go. Let's see. Where'd my pen go? I got everything but my writing utensil. Utensil! Here it is. There we go. Now we can proper at stuff. There's some grit on my tablet. Get to eating at my desk again. All right, so what are we doing here? Let's go with puddle tokens. We're going to take this and separate it from there. Here, drop. Here, bop, bop. These are the degrees of separation that we have inside of the piece. Color, line, and grit. So we are going to continue peeling this thing apart. Hold on real quick. Let me, I'm going to build real quick here. Let's just go with our basic line and take it down to a 2. And then let's grid on this. So I want to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inch by 16 inch space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. If we're using an 8.5, if we're using an 11 by 17 page through a printer, then we'll have as a like a laser printer, right? We will. It's a 11 by 17, so we're using a 10 by 16 active space, so that we can have a 1/2 inch margin to feed through the printer with. Double checking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Let's merge these down. seal that. One. Two. Let's rotate this one. How can I? Okay, we can make it work that way. It's unfortunate there's no gap here, but it is great news that these all fit inside this space. So that is, yeah, that's super good news. So I want to make another one of these 11 by 17 pages. Here's how this is going to end up shaking out. If we are only doing a black and white print, like because all these layers are all bound together, I'm not going to break them apart right now and waste your time. But we have these three here. They can all fit on this 11 by 17. I'm going to make 3 more of these things that will also fit on an 11 by 17 page. So, and then we're going to break those out and we're going to make these puddles. If I have 6 of them of various sizes, when we're using the template system that we've built here for this adventure to have common, consistent language throughout the piece, here is the generic plate that we're using, which in a black and white, like if you're using a laser printer that's only black lines, you don't even need cartridges. It's cheap if you have a laser printer. It becomes very easy to print, and it's effectively free. And so this is for virtual tabletop, and of course, VTT color is free. You just got to duplicate the token. So you can duplicate this into 20 by 20 tiles for however large of a space that you need for your battle encounter. And these puddles get placed on top of them like shrinky-dink stickers on a scene. And then beyond that, there is the hazard tokens that we created, which are various just little tokens to indicate different flora and ground effects for the team to encounter while they are traversing the necrotic manifest zone from a bar. And then there's the individual maps that we built, and we finished the sinkhole chamber yesterday. So when you put the grit, the ground, the tokens, and then a map together, you end up in a 20 by 20 space that looks like this. And you can see that there's various types of terrain that are dotting the map around it. It has the sinkhole puddles that act as difficult terrain, the ferric ivy that deals damage if you cross through it, which is defending this door here, the Vulpina Lotharia, which takes away your action economy if you fail a constitution saving throw while inside of that space. And then you got some mushrooms down here, and you got some, there's some florets, like little dandelions, death dandelions over here, just a smattering of them. And then you have some, there we go, some smattering of the florets, and then some moss we have growing over here, which doesn't actually do anything other than just add language to the map. So those are the tokens. That is an external surface level map, and then we have our profile cutaway of the map environment and the sinkhole below. And then here's the interior of the sinkhole with the Lotharia lighting up this section that is above the water, and the corners creating more poisonous gas stuff, and the living grave that's in the middle of it, which is basically an undead ooze that spits out new undead creatures occasionally that then climb onto the mast, and they hop and climb out of the hole, and then run across the terrain. So this environment that we're creating has these, I call them map vignettes. Vignettes are illustrations that don't have defined borders. And although we can obviously see this is inside of a 20 by 20 space, as we showed, this can be tiled perpetually. So this can lead into an encounter area, the manifest zone of Mabar. Mabar is the plane of death, darkness, and things that go bump in the night in Eberron. And when something co-terminates, the two realities overlap. And then the plane of Mabar being a necrotic source, it starts to terraform the environment that it overlaps with. And this is taking place in the Carnwood, which is a massive forest in the northern area of Karnath in the Eberron world, like I said. And so the trees and all the vegetation and the ground is just rotting away into a muddy slurry that's mixing in with this necrotic grit that forms all of this, like basically coffee crystals. They're called crystals of Mabar. You can use an alchemical process to convert them into a material component that's worth gold value for performing necromancy or darkness rituals. Like if you wanted to speak with dead, you could take some of this stuff, process it, and then like rub it on the eyes of the corpse, and then you can talk to them without having to worry about the gems. I think that's the. And then animate dead, you can sprinkle this on a corpse, and as long as that's of the proper gold piece value, it'll animate the corpse. So it's worthless grit unless you're a necromancer, in which case it's valuable. So it has it's highly magical substance that is very effective at creating these spell effects, but on the street level, it has no value. All the other plants and stuff can be processed into poisons. The mushrooms can be brewed into a tea that removes poison and negates any of the miasmic effects of being in this environment. It creates all this necrosis process creates a sort of hanging poison in the air that just wears you down over time. And the florets, the little dandelions, you can crush those into like a potpourri and stuff it into a plague mask. And if you breathe that, it prevents you from, it filters out the poisonous effects of the environment. But the environment also only allows 40 feet worth of visibility. So 40 feet is 8 squares. And these tiles, these map tiles are 20 squares. So you can only see, like if you're at the edge of this map, you can only see into like maybe here. So as a vignette, if you're more than 8 pages, like if you're over here off the page, you don't even see this yet. You have to be, well, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If your character is here along this edge, they do not, like they can only barely see, like you can see clearly, and then things become obscured for another 40 feet. So if you're here, you can only vaguely see the far left edge of this structure, but undead could be crawling out of that hole and coming at your character. And if you're more than, like, if you're just off screen, you have no idea where these undead are coming from. So you have to follow their path back to where they are, find the sinkhole, drop in, and deal with it. Either by lobbing a fireball down the hole and just basically blow the place out, or climb down or shoot arrows down into it to resolve while it's still spitting out undead to climb up and attack you. Plus there can be any number of undead that are actually in the water here. It's just it's impossible to tell how deep it is. It's 5 feet deep, so you can have undead in here, and they can all be throughout this gross, murky water area. So that's the idea of how this thing works. So we're now in the process of building more of these environmental tokens. I have one 11 by 17 page that you can laser burn with black and white art. Well, hey, Rel, it's good to see you, my guy. Yeah, so these are standalone puddles. We're gonna make more puddles, just so we have a second page of this stuff fit the space. So I'm going to let's take this back here, add in our grit, add in the color to this puddle, and then we're going to conceal that for a moment. These tokens work great inside that space. I'm going to make another quick puddle tokens. Let's build another layer here, drop down here. So I want to make 3 more of these that are in a different sort of alignment and shape than those. So I think I want to have one that's like roughly like this. How you doing this morning? Deuce, get out of here, scallywag. I'll drop that down here so it fits inside of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 10 space. We'll have grit around the edges, and then we'll build out the actual sinkhole here. Bit lonely. Sorry to hear that, man. Life is. I work. I work a full-time day job, and it's work from home, and then I do the streaming stuff. So I can feel you there, man. I am alone a lot. It's one of the reasons why I like to jump on stream like this is so I have at least somebody. You know, even if no one shows up, I can at least yammer into the void. But it was really nice when there's people hanging out. So I appreciate you being here, man. Crafting art is by nature a very lonely activity. Back in the day when I was young, I really valued the time that I spent in isolation and art because it allowed me to process thoughts and stuff. But I'm nearly 50. I've done plenty of thinking in my day, and at this point, I just I like the social connection. Here's my problem: I crave the social connections of friendship in real meat space, but I'm also a painter, which means I'm cursed to want to perform these tasks, which are by nature an isolated activity. Like they are lonely activities. You don't collab in painting; everyone just works on their own paint. So what's up? Right on. It's nice that you can identify it and own it. People that try to hide from how they really feel end up giving themselves ulcers. So cheers to you for having your own internal awareness to know where your emotions are at and what they're trying to express to you. Just leaning in. You know what? This might not mean anything to you, but my muse is inspiring me to tell you, or anyone out there that's dealing with depression or loneliness in particular, I have found that giving yourself attention is a very healing thing to do. How about that for timing? Just being your own companion. Like listening, like spending time and listening to those feelings inside of yourself, because they have their own intelligence and they're trying to tell us our own things. I spend a lot of time, especially like when I can't sleep, just just holding space, as it were, for whatever emotions want to be expressed and share themselves with me, and not judge what it is that they're saying to me, but just understanding that these are things that your heart has to get off of your chest, as it were. Not that I'm trying to tell you how to run your life. It's just my muse. My muse orders me, as it were, to just say things on occasion, and that's the pact that I have with my muse, that she'll provide me with infinite creativity if I'll just say things occasionally for her. Which might sound super goofball, but it is what it is. I'm going to do it like this. So, take the things that I say with the knowledge that I do so with all sincerity of providing meaning to anyone that decides to show up. I'm going to catch up with you in a second. Those are good shapes. This will block off, like, oops. Well, no, we've already ran into a problem. This blocks like that. At least I can... Yeah, right on, man. I really appreciate just being a part of this life. I think I need to... Here, that leaves that space open, so I can grab this here. Like that. There we go. And let's compare them to these. Yeah, these are different enough in shape that they are carrying their own energy, pure energy. So that is good. I want to remain aware of that portioning. So I think a smart thing for me to do right off the cuff would be, let's see, first batch. Let's call this second batch. Line. Lines. Let's grab this here. And this here. Good. And then we can... here, color down here. I'm going to break this apart into separate layers again. I'm going to create a square. Let's see, I'm about ready to just ramp up some conversation here, so give me a second for me to get my shit together. What's up? Yeah, right on, my guy. It's very kind of you. We're all being kind up in here. The kind space. Technically this goes to here. And I can create like a little micro puddle down in the corner. And then we'll build this one here. And we can worry about perfection later, shan't we? Wop 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 wop. Technically this doesn't need to go out that far either, so let's just rough off face stuff. Yeah, sure, why not? This is a new song that I found recently. So far I'm pretty happy with it. I don't evolve my my music playlist often, but I subscribe to Epidemic streaming audio. So all the music that we're listening to is subscription, and as long as I'm subscribed, I can make as many videos as I want utilizing any of the amount of music that's on the channel. And once, if I stop paying for the service, I stop gaining access to the music. I can't make any more videos with it. And then they just check their copyright against the music signatures that they see in the video, and they're like, yeah, this is cool. They don't have any complaint with it. So I like that. Let's go back. What did I do? Okay. This is the button I wanted. Let's go back down to 2, get our circle back. Do like that. So I have to be honest with you, even though I listen to my emotions, I don't think it's a good thing to listen to my mind. No, exactly. Yeah, your mind is the opposite of your heart. Your mind is attempting to, like your mind doesn't tell you anything. It controls things. It makes observations, and then when it has its own freedom of reign, the whole ego construct idea in philosophy, that is the mind. And disintegrating the mind is a useful process, but you can't make it an adversary. Terence McKenna talked about this, the shadow. The shadow brews from your emotions and your mind working together, conspiring against you because you aren't listening to your heart, not you specifically, universal you. Hey there. Me too, as it were. But the mind attempts to make reason and rationality about the things that happen to you, and that you're afraid, or that you are attempting to predict and mitigate things that will happen to you, angling you towards things that you like, and trying to move away from things that you don't like, and then judging moment by moment where it feels in that spectrum you're at, and attempting to course correct you. Your heart doesn't care about any of that shit. All your heart cares about is, how do I feel right now? And if like the idea of trauma and PTSD is when a part of your emotional state gets trapped in the moment of wounding, and it's attempting to catch up to yourself. Like I had some, I won't bother you with the details, but I had some personal trauma stuff happen to me when I was a little kid, and so part of my evolutionary process as a human has been to be able to, as adult Phil, be able to turn and in that internal space protect child Phil from the things that happened by being able to reframe, and instead of getting trapped up in the things that happened to me, instead be there in the moment, as though like a toddler runs up to you crying. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna hold them and hug them and let them know that they're safe. That's mostly all the heart ever wants to hear, and it's the mind that creates all these constructs to protect you from having to hold that child in the first place, as though your mind is saying, no, I can care for this child. That's not true. You actually have to dive into the emotional space of your heart and listen to what it hurts over, or is angry over, or is scared of, and just simply sit with it and let that emotion unravel inside of you, and it'll move through your body. Once you gain awareness of this, this is how the process works for me anyway. I guess everyone can be different. But as the emotion moves through my body, I can feel it connecting lines between different points of experience that I've had, to basically say this thing and this thing and this thing all happened as part of the same cascade of consequences that are spilling out from this trauma event that happened in your past that you're still attempting to catch up with. So loneliness, give me a second, not to pick on you, but I get lonely too. Loneliness only happens when I don't spend any time with myself. You can't be lonely if you're truly happy with your own internal state. You would feel contentment in it wouldn't be isolation. It would just be quality time spent with yourself. And that's initially a difficult tactic to kind of, or state of mind to wrap your head around. But the more time you spend with yourself, the more you realize it's true that like I am my own best companion. And when I'm compelled to be around other people, it's mostly because my heart wants to share experiences and is looking to accumulate experiences with others, which is what compels us to go out and explore and reach out to people, is to have that connection. But if you really form a close relationship with yourself, with your own heart, so that you're capable of listening to its emotional state, it'll just flat out tell you when it wants to go engage with people, and it's not a state of loneliness, it's just a state of sharing. So, and if your heart is compelling you to go find those people, chances are it knows where to go. And if you get good at listening to your heart, it'll turn on your intuition and it'll just literally guide you to where you're supposed to be. But I've spent a shitload of time alone growing up to have the opportunity to gain this sort of emotional awareness, because when you're by yourself a very large portion of time, and the only other person there to listen to is your internal monologue, these are the kind of conversations that can strike up as a result of that. And most people actively attempt to turn off listening to themselves because the emotions that they have to listen to hurt, and they want to avoid that pain, so they drown themselves in distractions like doom scrolling, for instance, is a great way to engage your mind in judging or discerning preferences for content that you're seeing stream by, without having to actually deal with the emotional density that you're carrying inside of yourself. So this is the surface. This is the puddle. This is the water line inside of the puddle. This is the surface level above it, and this is just what's wrong? Elevation lines that basically transition from the surface to the water. Water is 2 pixels, surface is 3 pixels, transition lines are 1 pixel. So that builds a steady framework for us to be able to create a sinkhole space. So the language remains consistent throughout the piece. 1, 2, and. Like, what went wrong? Oh, there we go. Two-tone tunic. Let's work on this one, and then this one, and then the one up top. So this one's next. So I want to create enough space. There's not enough space here for a good surface level margin. So I'm going to pull this in here like that. Are we on 2 pixels? We are now. This is a little bit too wide. I want to bring this in a bit. Get out of there, scallywag. Let me fix my lines here real quick and I'll catch up with you. More puddles. This is the initial form of these puddles that we created here. This is the same process. So you can see the top side, bottom side, and transition lines. And once those transition lines are done, we'll just color in all the stuff. So it's not a very difficult process, but it takes a little time. And I wanted to have, this is a 10 by 15 inch space, which fits on an 11 by 17 page, which is legal size paper. If you're using a laser printer, this black and white line art without the grid, or with or without the grid, makes it, words, Kearney. Makes it really easy to print this out and just drop these things on a tabletop. Yeah, this would have grid. This will include grid. That's right. So, and you'll see this in the Spelljammer's Adventures in Space supplement that I created. Like all the map assets and tokens and stuff for Lattice or Axis, for instance. There's black and white and color tokens for all of them. So if you're on a virtual tabletop, you can use all the color tokens. If you're in physical kitchen table space, then you can take all the black line art and ink art that I did. So I do the ink art and then I put color on top of the ink art, like a comic book, right? But if you turn off the color layer, you're just left with the line art. So that makes it easy for you to use a laser printer just to burn in the black lines into your page, cut it out, and then drop it onto your kitchen table map, and now you have puddles. And these things are deep enough that like knee deep. So if you have to traverse this space, it's difficult terrain, unless you can avoid swamp or water is not difficult terrain for you if you're a ranger, for instance. So we're just creating the puddle effects, and then we're illustrating, and then we're coloring them. Yawn. Excuse me. So I wanted to have 6 options so that, again, when we go back, and you can just go back and build your own little battle tile environments. Like if these puddles were actually arranged this way, then you'd be able to navigate around inside of the space at the surface level or slosh into the puddle. And if there's undead rising out of the puddle, you're either going to have to shoot them at range, wait for them to come to you and climb up the embankment, or wade into the water to attack them yourself. And if there's a living grave hiding inside of there that's under the surface, you're going to have to wade in to go find it. So that's the sort of theme behind that, because the mists, the fog that gets formed in the manifest zone is so thick that the characters are effectively going to be slogging through just gray mist, not knowing what's ahead until it's within 40 feet of them. Then they can see it. So we can drop any number of these little random encounters along the way. So we're built all these tokens and little pieces that we've been building is so that you have a toolkit that you can just that a DM can just throw together a quick little map. Like, here's your base plate, here's a couple puddles, here's some slop, and here's some poison gas, and here's some razor wire stuff, and then bam, like within a minute you've got a little 20 by 20 map space that you can fight undead or a boss, or if you run across soldiers that are also traversing the space and they want to fight you, then you can build these little impromptu battle maps to make it easy for you to not, so you don't have to plan out your day so hard. I'm a heavy improvisationist as a DM. I only about 10 to 20% of an adventure is actually something that I plan, and then I just quote unquote plan lots of improvisation space. Like I'll present a challenge, but I don't have any actual solution to it. I just know who's in the, if it's just a trap, it's a trap. That's easy. If it's just an environmental puzzle, it's a puzzle. Easy enough. And those I will plan out. At least enough for me to help bullshit their way. Like if you build a puzzle and you don't have a solution to that puzzle, then any solution that the team comes up with becomes plausible. There is no wrong answer because there never was a right answer. You're actively asking the players, I need you to come up with an answer to how to deal with this. Just make sure that the threat that you create isn't so dangerous that it'll kill the characters if they don't figure it out quickly. And then whatever bullshit solution they come up with, just let it work. That way, they feel like they're smart, and they're creating their own narrative, and it's a fantasy role-playing game. Of course, just ridiculous, silly shit is going to work. Like in the world of, okay, so like in our own real world, quote unquote, of science, where we're at right now, we have a philosophical paradigm that we have to see it to believe it. But in a fantasy world, in a world of magic, you have to believe it to see it. People believe in dragons, there's dragons. People believe in magic, you cast spells. That's a fantastical world where more often than not things just work. Like the reason like golems and constructs and artificers and tinkering works is because in these fantasy worlds there is a more than 50% chance that whatever crazy idea you come up with is actually going to work as intended. As opposed to our real world, it's more like you're going to have to prove through physics, physically, you're going to have to prove that this thing can actually work. Otherwise, it's just dumb luck and it's not replicatable. That's the paradigm that we've set ourselves up on. Create reliability through proof of concept, and then proceed. In the world of magic, if you make it up, as long as you try hard enough, it's going to work. So the fantasy world is naturally compelling to people that feel disempowered because they're attempting to achieve something with their life, and this like quote unquote default setting is a means for them, for us to feel some sort of cathartic satisfaction of having something that we try work out. That's one of the weird pieces. Something is awry. Bump, 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 bump. Like, why is this? Oh yeah, because that's right. Because of that. Now, where's the rest of the lines coming in? We have that there. I got lost in my own sauce. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Aha. Thank you. I'm trying to keep these lines all separated proper like. It's not making it easy on me. I'm not making it easy on myself. How about we phrase it that way? Okay, I'm back on task. We need a 3-point font to draw the border around the edge. What is the thing from older editions that D&D kept that D&D kept that you never liked? That's a great question. The power differential between casters and marshals. Back in the old basic editions, first level wizard or cleric, right, could cast a single spell. First level, you can cast a single first level spell. That's it, and then you're done for the day. You have to finish a rest to get your spell back. And at that point, the only difference between you And a first level fighter is that you are unarmored, you have no armor, you have less hit points potentially, and you have no and you have very little weapon proficiency. So and then as your caster grew in power, they got more and more and more spells. But at first level, you cast your spell once, and then you basically become a crossbowman, staying as far away from the fight and shooting stuff as you can each round. So you're basically a really shitty fighter for like the first 3 levels, or 3 or 4 levels, and then at that point, like by the time you get to 5th level, you get access to Fireball. So at 5th level, you're gonna have 5 spells per day, which means you might be able to like have a spell per encounter, like per combat encounter, to be able to use magic to make a difference in killing something. But once you go through those 5 spells, you're back on crossbow duty, because wizards anyone could fire a crossbow. You just put the arrow in, you pull the latch, you point, and you fire. You click the trigger, and it does the thing. So anyone can be a crossbowman, and that's what casters would end up being when they run out of spells. With the idea that as they continue to accumulate power, they're going to get more and more spells, and they'll have to be crossbowmen less and less. So initially, the martial characters were like basically at the low levels. They did all the tanking, they did the frontline work, they took all the risks. Because they had enough of a hit point supply to be able to survive mistakes while trying to keep the casters from being harmed. And then as they continued to accumulate levels, the casters became the ones that could solve all the problems, and the marshals basically just became obstacles to creatures, as speed bumps to slow them from getting access to the back line where the casters are at. And as the game expands, it remained mostly the same throughout AD&D first and second edition. It still pretty much maintained that paradigm. And then when WotC purchased the company, they third edition became basically a character deck builder game, right? Like Wizards of the Coast, the people that created the world's most popular deck building card game, Magic the Gathering. Go figure, when they take ownership of Dungeons and Dragons, they make a deck building game out of it with prestige classes and multi-classing, being able to ad hoc add different classes to your character's growing character level to change how your character overcame challenges. And once they did that, they started in 3rd edition, 4th edition, now 5th edition, 5.24. They continue adding more and more abilities to the characters in general, but the power level that the marshals get remains linear, while the casters become exponential, which is the reason why I run the Martial Powers Project. The thing that I don't like about that, which they got rid of in 4th edition, they made everything the same, but they made everything literally the same. There was not enough variety. If you don't have, in 4th edition, okay, so hold on, I'm gonna back up real quick. In 3rd edition, they came out with so many different ideas. There's like a dozen different sort of like resources that a character could accumulate. Just depends on what class they had. And with the multi-classing system, you can continue to accumulate various types of resources that could be spent on different features and abilities. And so a really advanced character could have a really weird mix of different things that they could do over the course of a day. Like if you're using Incarnum, you're basically creating magic item aura effects, and you can have one per chakra. Like you had 7 chakra in your body, and then your hands and your feet and your helmet and your eyes and your face and your throat and your chest and your waist and your legs. So there's all these different points on your body that correlated with different magic items. You can wear like one ring per hand, finger. You can wear one pair of gloves. You could wear one magically enchanted armor or suit or robe, and you like each garment that you could wear would basically be like a magic item slot, and you could have as many magic items as you had slots open on your body. And then the Incarnum system converted those slots into chakra centers. So instead of wearing armor, you would have the chest chakra or the heart chakra would be the magic, like the magic enchantment that you would bond to your body. Instead of wearing magical armor, you would bond this enchantment effect to your body to create these auras, which I express as sustained effects in the martial power system. But then you could couple that with, like, say, a True Namer, which would summon vestiges to bind to it. Kind of like a mix between a Warlock's Patron and Wild Shaping. While you had an active pact that you would choose a number of pacts to agree upon per whenever you finish a long rest, and whatever pact you agreed to would give you a cumulatively increasing stack of random abilities, and it would physically or visually alter your character some way. Like there was, I forget the name of the different visages, but these are like far realm entities that would lend their power to mortals so that they could feel alive again, and in exchange for the power and energy that they gave. But they had their own agendas while they did it. Like there was an assassin, I think you had to be 5th level to have access to it, but it was an assassin vestige. So like it was a spirit of assassins. So if you bound yourself to the spirit, you would get like 3d6 sneak attack dice whenever you were able to make a sneak attack, even though you weren't a rogue. But it would constantly want to betray people, starting with the people that were most sincere to you. So you can gain these assassination abilities, but it's going to attempt to betray people in the process. It's like you had these interesting role-playing scenarios. So you could bond vestiges to you while also using Incarnate magic. And some Incarnate magic would allow you to ramp up your sneak attack damage dice as well. So like you could take... and then you could take from the martial, the book of the Tome of Battle. Thank you, Book of Nine Swords, the Tome of Battle. You could learn a battle. You could learn the assassin's stance, which would also give you 2d6 sneak attack dice. So a three-class multi-class character could have like 76 sneak attack damage dice by the time they got to 14th level as a character, even though they've never taken a level in Rogue. And then they have access to all these other pseudo magic powers as they accumulated those powers. So you can create these amazing blends of resource mechanics to make your character unique in the way that you want that character to resolve problems. And so that was incredibly diverse and very, very successful for 3rd edition to do that. But the gloat was incredible. So the bloat, not gloat, but the bloat was incredible. So 4th edition came along, and they converted all the resources to the same once per encounter, once per day, once per round action economy, and they structured all of the powers you could use those resources with the exact same way for all character classes. If you want to use a Paladin Smite, you'll use your Charisma attack to deal like 3 dice of damage against somebody's wisdom defense, for instance. While the Cleric would be able to use a Divine Retribution using its Wisdom stat against your Constitution, rolling 3 dice of damage when it did. Like, it all feels the same. They would just shuffle which ability scores you would use and which ability scores they would target. And so everyone hated 4th edition because everything felt the same. It was an incredible game system if they had only had like one, like if they had instead only had one class, and then you could kit these things out to express your character the way that you want and have a variety of things that use that mechanic, but it was like an invocation selection list, it probably would have worked a lot better. But so 4th edition was everything was the same, which they didn't keep for 5th edition. They got rid of that idea and went back to a simplified resource, like multiple resources systems, but less severe, contained mostly within subclasses. But it wasn't as strong as 3rd edition, and it still kind of felt samey, like the way that advantage kind of feels samey, like everyone gets advantage on an attack roll one way or another. That's the same sort of blandness that 4th edition had, but at least 5th edition has a wider variety of resources in which you can achieve those type of things. So the thing that I don't like about previous editions is, even though they're integrating all these, like these new resources to character options, they still left marshals back in 2nd and 1st edition, where they basically have the resources they have trigger things that are inconsequential next to somebody casting Wish, you know? Like, the disparity is still massive. The only time they ever got rid of the disparity between classes was in 4th edition, and everything was so the same that it was just unappealing. Even though the game mechanics itself were really well balanced inside of itself, it's just everything felt the same. It was too balanced, so it felt bad. So it got rejected, even though it was full of really good ideas. Anyway, that's my answer. There you go. Let's bring this down like this a little bit. Let's cut that. Let's bring this to here. I want to bring this in here. I need enough space for the border. I'm going to bring this in a bit more. That's a good shape. So, weren't races in 4E unique though? I don't honestly remember. I didn't play a lot of 4th edition. It wasn't appealing. It was not appealing to me. So instead, I continued. Instead of playing 4th edition, I just continued playing 3rd edition. Where are we at? So okay, I got a little less than 20 minutes left. $15 minutes left. I will not be here tomorrow. I am in America. It is a national holiday. It is National Barbecue and Listen to Explosions Day. So I plan on celebrating hardcore, and so will not be on in the morning or in the evening, but I have Friday off. So I'll be back on Friday morning, and I'll have a long session of martial powers development tomorrow on Friday at lunchtime. Looking forward to it. There we go. Just redoing this. The 4E that I did play was actually I played a few sessions of 4E in Adventure League at the local game shop that's sadly closed now. But it was Adventure League Gaming. I played a sorcerer, 3 sessions, so about 12 hours of play, and that was enough for me to say, you know, this isn't very exciting. So instead, our whole table decided to stop playing D&D Adventure League, and we instead decided to play 4th edition Gamma World. And 4th edition Gamma World is fucking fantastic. The 4E game engine is great for after the bomb mutant gaming, because it wasn't D&D. It didn't have all of the saddled expectations of what you think D&D would be, and instead did, you know, the mutants and mutants and high science. And Gamma World is like after the bomb fantasy, right? Like radioactive planet, post-nuclear war, mutants rise, society fell, like Mad Max with psionics, basically, and potentially super weapons. Oh crap, that's the wrong size font. There, let's do that again. I'm gonna do it again. And that game, 4th edition adapted really, really well to Gamma World. It took 2 minutes to make a character. Every time you rolled a natural 1, you would have a spontaneous mutation, so you gained a new one-shot ability. Most of the magic items, like most of the like, you know, artifacts, the forgotten relics from the days of the golden era. Most of them were one-shot items, or like you had to roll a die, and if you roll below the target number, the item would stop working. That's a very Numenera approach to magic items, by the way. Monty Cook, no doubt, lifted the cipher mechanic from that 4E magic item use. But most of the stuff in the game were one-use items, including your own mutations. You use it once, you don't have it again until like either you finish a short, like until you finish a long rest, or you rolled a 1. And in that case, you would have just a random mutation. So you'd fail your die roll, but your consolation prize is that you would get a new mutation. And it would replace whatever mutation you currently have if you had one. So you were encouraged, you were risk rewarding against, do I want to hold on to this power because it's going to be really, really useful to use? Or do I need to make sure I use it for something, because I could roll a 1 at any time and I'll just lose it without having used it, and that'll be a wasted opportunity. So you're constantly gambling against your own die rolls. Like, will I retain this power long enough for it to do something useful that I want it to? And then the DM forces you to make some die rolls. It's like, shit. I lost my ability. And then I had to roll up and I got something totally lame. Like, fuck you. Talk to plants? Get out of here with that. God damn it. So then you look for a reason to talk with plants because it was a BS ability. And then the DM could build something interesting out of it. It's like, he wants to talk with plants. He's going to be compelled to do that. Okay, great. Let's throw in a friendly plant that can tell him something. You know, it was very gonzo, spontaneous, random, like very lighthearted beer and pretzels sort of game. And it was fucking fantastic. It was. I played Gamma World 2nd edition a lot in the 80s, and I loved Gamma World. It was super cool. But this was by far the best Gamma World I've ever experienced. It was cool. I loved how chaotic and spontaneous it was. It only took like 2 minutes to make a character, so life was cheap, and it was designed to be. That's the theme of the apocalypse, right? That your life doesn't matter. So seek whatever glory you can while you can, because you probably won't be here past this session. Some people would go through 3 or 4 characters a session, no problem. But it was so fast to rotate them over that you just kept picking them up, and you just get back into it. And it was all completely like your species, and your mutations and your stats. It was all random. So it only took like maybe 8 or 9 die rolls and you were back in the game. So super fast. Like by the time it got around to you in initiative order again, you already had a new character. Ridiculous fun. Huh? I feel non-magic users would be better if they all had combat techniques like the Battle Master. That's what basically I'm doing with the martial power system. It's half casting progression, goes from 1 to 5 mana with boosting the ability effects. And have you not? I could swear you've seen some of the martial power stuff that I work on. But yeah, it takes all the martial classes and gives them a magic system that they spend mana on to deal extra damage, to change their movement, to change the result of die rolls that they make, etc., 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 blah, blah, blah. All sorts of stuff that you can do with them. And I'll be back in that space on Friday. Tuesdays and Fridays are martial powers. That's when I do that stuff. Let's see. Let's grab this and pull up like that a little bit. Right on, yeah. It would be a very easy solution. The advanced 5e system that In-World Games came up with has a feat level battle master, like everything requires a bonus action to use, so you can only use it basically once around. But it's very similar in that idea. I don't like I don't like how dependent on bonus actions A5e is with characters. I don't like the way they built it. It's just not the way that I design things. I always go with mana because resource points, like key points or spell points, are like really are universally useful things. Like you can spend them on virtually anything. All you gotta do is just like make up a thing, give it a point value, and then if you have the points, you spend the points to do the thing. There you go. Then it's just a matter of balancing. And I know that the martial power system doesn't have nearly the level of utility that spellcasters do, like with being able to contact other plane or like summon creatures and stuff like that. But what you can do with it is it's hyper aggressive. Like it puts you on even footing in combat. It gives you the edge. Your skill checks are always going to be better than casters, and your you have the option. Like if you kit into it, your ability checks will always be better than casters, and you'll always be able to do significant damage to targets. Usually single targets, but sometimes multiple targets during combat. So utility and crowd clearing remains spellcaster focused activities, which I'm fine with. But the martial characters can drill down like bosses, like single target bosses, because you can't avoid the effects that they create, and they do just blistering amounts of damage when they do it. As opposed to casters, is either I'm going to do damage to you or I'm going to cause some sort of debilitating effect. Generally, it's going to be one or the other. And if it's going to debilitate you, you'll get a save to avoid it. If it's damage, you'll get a save to reduce it. While martials is I hit you, you're going to hurt, and I'm going to impact you, and then you got to save to get out of it. So it approaches magic effects from a different direction than spellcasters do. So it feels very different than just being martials, like martial characters with some magic strapped on. It's more it's a lot. It's a lot more than just that. Like, you don't have to concentrate on things. So like you can permanentize haste on yourself. Now you've permanently got haste on your character, and if it ever goes down, there's no drawback other than it went down. But you can only use it on yourself, as opposed to a wizard can cast haste on anybody. That's huge utility, but the drawback is that it shuts down your adrenal system for a round and you get stunned afterwards. Like spell casting is more powerful, but it has drawbacks and limitations. While the power system that we're developing, it's incredibly effective, but its limitations is that it's not as flexible in what you can do with it as you can with magic. So, but it creates very different lanes that both have considerable amounts of power, lowercase power, available to the characters. So, in that sense, I think the project so far has been a massive success. I'm looking forward to seeing the monk on Monday and finishing out the reconfiguration for all the classes and subclasses, so we can get back to playtesting. I want to get into 5th and 6th level, because you get your next tier of power at 5th level, with being able to swap out attacks for free mana to use as bonus actions. So I'm 3rd and 4th level was really fun playtesting, because the characters had minimal resources, and it was interesting to see how they decided to make use of them. And in this upcoming playtest, they'll have virtually unlimited mana and small supplies, and that will be interesting to see how they make use of it. So I'm very, very much looking forward to getting back up and running. Plus, I want to make another Rubble Belt. So it's a hex crawl environment in the Ravnica setting, in the wastelands between urban districts. So they call it the Rubble Belt, and I built a random system for like creating challenges and environments inside of the Rubble Belt. And I want to make another. I'm looking forward to making another tile. So we played for 5 sessions, 2 at 3rd level, 3 at 4th level, and then they solved the adventure of that tile. Like, the challenge of that tile was securing the area and helping a Sphinx find a lost power stone that would give it the energy that it needed to perform the experiments that it wanted. So it was searching the wastelands for this item, and it knew where it was, but the Sphinx is simply too big to get to it. So it needed to hire something intelligent, your characters, to go into the dungeon space they couldn't access to fetch its item. And you did, and so it gave the team a stable place to stay in the Rubble Belt, and some additional resources to make adventuring a little bit easier. And then the team decided to head southeast. So I'm building the southeast tile currently. The next tile we'll build is southeast of their current location, with its own set of challenges and monsters and yada yada. What the? Come on, Cranny. I used 2 pixels again instead of 1. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. Oh shit, there's my timer. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Got like 2 minutes left. Shit. These are all the wrong pixel size. Fuck. I gotta redo all of it. Over here is okay. Let's see if I can hammer these in real quick. What were you saying? Any closing remarks? I was just saying that it would be good. Yeah. Well, I mean, Wizards isn't cutting edge design. Wizards is attempting to build a stable base that other people can riff off of. Like, I can build these things because Wizards is providing a stable environment for me to leverage off of to build different ideas. And I'm often critical of Wizards game design simply because a lot of the stuff they build is unfun. So I punch up at them a lot. But I really, really love 5th edition. And I love all the IPs that come with Dungeons & Dragons. I just don't necessarily like how the design direction that Wizards goes in. But I'm a home brewer, so naturally I would like them to push the limit, especially if it's in the direction of stuff that I think is cool. But they're trying to deal with the least common denominator to maximize profitability of creating books in a post-book era. So I don't blame them for the decisions that they make. It leaves room for me to do the things that I want to do, without just reproducing what they've already done, right? Because they're so white bread. My pumpernickel stands out that much more, especially if it's baked well, which is why I don't mind taking a ton of time to build my stuff, because the slower I cook it, the more savory the flavor, and that's worth it to me. All right, that is it. I am done for the session. I won't be back tomorrow morning. I will be back I'm going to be back at lunch today. I'm not sure. Typically we would work on Spelljammer stuff, but something's telling me that I might not be doing that. So I'm leaving that open, but I will be back and it'll be later in the day. Probably like at 2 o'clock. That's going to be 6 hours from now. I'll be back on for at least an hour. Probably for an hour. And we'll see we'll probably work on subclasses. They're pretty quick to work on. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Anyone that's new to the channel, thanks a lot for checking it out. I'm here 10 times per week doing various different projects, talking about stuff like this. And if you're interested, stick around, like, subscribe, blah, blah. I'll see everyone in the future. Thanks, Ralph, for hanging out again today. I appreciate you. Later, guys.